On the contrary and in contrast are two phrases I see students confuse all the time in their writing. In fact, in the most recent term, several students have told me they thought these two phrases were interchangeable and were surprised when I told them they're not. So what is the difference between on the contrary and in contrast? And which should you use and when? Before we dive into the answer, if you're new here, I'm Dr. Claire Lynch of the Doris and Bertie Writing School, and I'm on a mission to help you become a better, more confident writer. So let's dive in with that difference between on the contrary and in contrast. So the first thing I've noticed from my students' writing is that it mostly seems to be the phrase on the contrary that they misuse, in that they tend to use on the contrary when they should be using in contrast. And it doesn't, I don't think, seem to happen the other way round. So you need to be particularly careful if you're tempted to use on the contrary. It's with this one that you really need to think twice. So here's the difference between the two phrases. You should only use on the contrary when you want to introduce a statement that rebuts, contradicts, or denies a previous statement and does so quite forcefully. For example, I thought Jim didn't like anchovies. On the contrary, he loves them. So here, on the contrary, introduces a statement that contradicts our original belief that Jim dislikes anchovies. We could replace on the contrary with phrases like, actually, the opposite is true, or that's wrong, or quite the reverse. Let's compare that example with this. Jim dislikes anchovies. In contrast, Jane loves them. Here, we're not introducing a denial or rebuttal or contradiction of the point that Jim dislikes anchovies. The statement that he dislikes them remains true, and his dislike of anchovies isn't affected by the separate point about Jane's love of them. Both statements are true, but they present different realities. So here it would be confusing to replace in contrast with something like the opposite is true or that's wrong. More accurate synonyms would be unlike him or different from him. So remember, on the contrary introduces a statement that contradicts the previous point, and it can be replaced with something like that statement I've just written is wrong. But in contrast introduces a statement that simply contrasts with or provides a juxtaposition to the previous point, and it can be replaced with something like different from that statement I've just written. So, did you find that explanation useful? Have you, up until now, been confusing the phrases on the contrary and in contrast? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, I'm Dr. Claire Lynch of the Doris and Bertie Writing School. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps the channel get noticed. And of course, please do share the video with your friends.